Okay, this is now the 5-minute tarot for the 12th of February 2017. And I want to try this. So a few days ago, I think it was with the past, present, and future spread, I talked about having or setting a goal, right? And that's a future situation. But I also mentioned it's important to live in the present. And it occurred to me afterwards, there might be a contradiction because how can you be thinking about the future and imagining it the way you want it, while simultaneously living in the present, where things are not yet the way you want them, or in the present where you don't seem to have what you want. So I kind of like to discuss this, and I'll tell you what my current understanding is. And it might be useful for reading cards because it'll give us a way of understanding the present and the future, present position and the future position or condition and their relationship with each other. And it can also fit in with the idea that all of us, we can actually have what we want in life. Because you say to people, what do you want? And they say, I don't know. Or we have maybe in the back of our mind that we have to wait for other people to give us permission for us to have what we want. Or maybe we think that fate or some other invisible power may not want us to have what we want, or we have to wait for it to allow us to live the life of our own choosing. And I don't think it's like that. I think we can actually have what we want. Okay, so you may know about the newsletter that you can sign up for at dynamictarot.com. And I sent out the second newsletter on the 6th of February. And then later that day, it occurred to me, and I realized that at this point, I have no idea what the next one is going to be about. I want it to go out and round about the 6th of March. And you may recognize that kind of situation. So you think about something that you're going to have to do or something that's going to be happening in the future. And at that moment of thinking about it, you have no idea what to do or how to go about it or what it's going to be like. And you panic, or you kind of panic, or you imagine having to rush at the last minute to get something done. And I imagine that we can all recognize that kind of fear or situation where you imagine what the future is going to be like, and you assume that you're not going to be able to handle it. So when I briefly thought about the next newsletter, I kind of imagined the worst, and I could have let it take over, and I could have worried about it or dreaded having to do another newsletter because I don't know what I'm going to do. And it was like I imagined the future was going to be a problem. And this idea reminds me of something in the Chris Doe, Aaron Pearson interview that's on YouTube. And I mentioned this in the last newsletter. And one of them, I think it's Aaron, says fear is FEAR, which stands for, the F is future, E for experiences, A for appearing, and R for real. That's what fear is. And you might want to relate this information about fear to the 9th card in a Celtic cross, because that represents your hopes or fears. Anyway, also I'm thinking about this next newsletter, and I could have thought, I have to get this done now, right, or else I'm going to be stuck in the future and I won't know what to do. But the deadline is a month away, roundabout. It was at the time. And what I was doing at that moment, and what you too may be in the habit of doing, is that you're in the moment, but you project ahead, and you're thinking that the current situation that you're not happy with, because I didn't know what I was going to put in the newsletter. So the current situation that you're not happy with is you're assuming that it's going to be the same in the future, or it's going to be duplicated, or it's going to still exist, in my case, by the 6th of March. So the situation I don't like is going to still exist a month from now. So future experiences appear real. And that's living in the future. And what you do is you paint a picture of problems before they've come about or before time has passed. And the problem picture that you paint takes over your thinking and your emotional state. Okay? But if we think about the future, there's a difference when we think about the future as the goal or the condition that we want by a particular date in the future. So then what we do is, so we've got a goal. If we then take steps or decide what the steps are that we need to take and set some milestones so we can check out our progress and keep on track, then you've still got the idea of the future condition, but you're going to get to it and you know how you're going to get to it. So there isn't the same amount of pressure, and it can't, the goal, the picture for the future doesn't take over. It's sort of in control. So with my example, okay, I could think, okay, by the 16th of February, I'm going to have some ideas about what I might include in the newsletter. Then by the 26th, I'm going to know which of the different possibilities I'm actually going to use. And then by the 6th of March, I'll have it written, and then I can send out newsletter number 3. So I still have the goal that I'm going to have the newsletter done, and I can think about it during the next month. And maybe I'm going to come up with, or I could come up with some ways to make the newsletter more interesting. Maybe I put up or connect it to a video, or put a video within the body of the newsletter, or maybe an audio track, or maybe I come up with a catchy title. So I know what the goal is, or what sort of future I want, but I'm still able to live in the present and get done what is necessary so the newsletter will come out on time. I know what the goal is, but I also know what I have to get done by the milestone dates. So the task is broken down into small tasks or small steps, so it's more manageable and there's less pressure. So this approach of knowing the future that you want, but working on the many or the few steps required to get there, it can work for readers and questioners in all sorts of ways. And at the same time, if you take this approach, you're living in the present, and you're not living in the past, which is what we often do, where we go over things that didn't work out, or things that we didn't like, or that make us feel bad. But at the same time, this is the past. We can't change it. But thinking about things that went wrong and going over it and over it and keeping it alive, it can incapacitate us and make us unable to do much of anything. So we're going to procrastinate some more just because we've made ourselves feel powerless, or made ourselves feel as bad as we did in the past when the particular thing happened. So that's one approach that people have to living. And the other one is they live in the future. And they act as if we act as if we have no control over the future, when in fact we have complete control of it. It's up to you to decide what you want your future to be, and then figure out how to get there, and figure out the intermediate steps to take, and then actually take the steps. And maybe rethink or reassess the future conditions at the different milestones that you've decided on. Okay, that was it. Tomorrow, I think I'll pick a card and it'll be more like a normal 5-minute tarot. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.